Welcome to another round of the Red Clay Soccer Report, powered by NoFo Brewing. John Nelson here with you. It's the postseason. It is tournament time, and it is time for teams to chase after national titles. What we're going to do in this episode, we're going to look at the NCAA tournaments. We're going to look at the NAIA tournaments, let you know where folks in our footprint exist. We got some highlights and some posts that we will let you sample, as well as teams continue to move on into their next rounds of the tournaments that they are in, and it will be coming up on the weekend after the Thanksgiving holiday. All right, so let's start things off. Here's what we're going to sample here in the next little bit. You're going to find out about Life University. You're going to find out about Truett McConnell. You're going to find out about a very busy Sunday for Emory University. You're going to find out about a busy weekend for Georgia Gwinnett College. You're also going to find out about UNG and what it was like for them. And like I said, we'll go through the brackets, set up your matchups as we go here going forward. All right, so let's start things off at Georgia Gwinnett College, and we'll find out what's going on in the NAIA tournament on the men's side. And as it was an opportunity for GGC to host Rio Grande out of Ohio. And yes, it does look like Rio Grande, and that's that's kind of how, like I said, that is how it looks, but that is not how it is pronounced. Rio Grande made their way to the Lawrenceville section in the Lawrenceville bracket to take on GGC, and a chance to head down out of the Lawrenceville bracket and head down to Orange Beach starting on December 1st. Here's how the Lawrenceville bracket wrapped up. It took longer than 90 minutes. And here's your highlights. Once again, it's going to be Jack and Maddie on the call. Georgia Gwinnett and Rio Grande out of Ohio. Here's how it ended in PKs.
And it's the freshman, Brian Gomez.
He can seal the deal here for Georgia Gwinnett. Send them to the round of 16 right here.
Gomez has been a huge part of this team's success this season. In that back line, the defender from Norcross, the local boy, with a chance to send the Grizzlies on. Ice in the veins from Gomez! The Grizzlies win! And they're heading to Orange Beach for the final sight and the Sweet 16.
So Georgia Gwinnett College, they advance, and they will be making it to Orange Beach. And after the match itself, Madison Cruz caught up with Coach DeCou to find out about everything that it took to get through the Rio Grande match and make it down to Orange Beach.
Welcome back, everyone. I am joined with head coach Steve DeCou after Georgia Gwinnett just took down Rio Grande in a penalty shootout to move on to the round of 16 in the NAIA tournament. Coach, it was a battle on the pitch, I think, from both sides, both on the offensive end and the defensive end. You know, what did you see on the touchline for this one?
No, exactly. It was that. I thought we had some of the better chances in the first half. Usman had a couple snapshots that he got off. They were dangerous on the counter off set pieces, which we've got to address going forward. But it was one of those. It was a playoff game. You defend first and then attack second because you just don't want to give away an opportunity to lose.
Let's talk about defensively. Amadou Diop, Aaron Leak, and also Brian Gomez and Victor Darube coming up in huge moments in regulation, in overtime, and even in the penalty shootout. I mean, how incredible have they been for your side this season, and also just holding things down defensively against a Rio Grande side that was just banging on the door?
Yeah, it was. I mean, don't forget the wingbacks because Josefa got back in there, and Pedro Alejandro and Gabby. Yeah, the back five were immense today, and honestly, they really didn't give. Victor only had to make that one save in the second half, but that was due to the back five and the work that they did.
And let's talk about the penalty shootout. Victor Darube as well. I mean, the experience that he has coming in to the collegiate level already just is one step above. But what did you think of his command in between the post and just his ability to read and everything and studying up, getting ready for this penalty shootout?
Well, Vic actually suffered a finger injury this week in his pinky, and so he was not at 100%. You notice he was kind of favoring it a little bit. But to make those two saves, he's been very good. And we've been practicing pens for the last 2 weeks because we knew going into the conference tournament and then into this that they could come down to this, which Mahoney didn't understand it. But in 14 years, this was the first ever penalty kick shootout with my team. So this was the first one ever. So, but we were prepared for it. Yeah, he was immense. You make two. You ask him just to make one save, but you got two out of him. That was great.
Well, the penalty practice paid off, especially in this one too. Moving on, you guys are going to the round of 16. You're going to Orange Beach. You're going to Alabama. I mean, it just feels like this whole season, you said it before the CAC championship, you want to be selfish. You want to win the whole thing. Now moving ahead, what is the mindset? What is the switch heading in and getting ready for going to play at Orange Beach on December 1st?
Well, we got to get healthy a little bit. I mean, you got some guys banged up, but this time of year, if you're 100% healthy, you probably weren't playing. We've got to fine-tune some things, but we're here. Let's just enjoy the ride, and let's probably going to play Cumberland U out of Tennessee. I think they're 3-0 up right now, so we're going to have our work cut out for us. It's a very good team, so we got to watch film, figure out what game plan we're going to have, but survive and advance. That's the time of year.
Well, Coach, once again, thank you again for the time, and congrats on the win.
Thank you very much.
So the Grizzlies, once again, head to the NAIA final site, the number 9 seed in the overall, getting the shootout victory, and it was a great opportunity for the team out of the CAC, head coach Steve DeCoux and everybody making it down to Orange Beach, and they will continue their tournament starting on December 1st as it all lays itself out. Also on the board, looking at the other activity that happened in the first and second round in the NAIA on the men's side for teams that are in our footprint. So as we look at the championship bracket and how things continue to go forward, Bethel of Tennessee, the overall one upper left-hand corner, had to wait for Union Commonwealth after Union Commonwealth played their way into the second round, knocking off Rocky Mountain of Montana. Bethel, Tennessee would get a 2-1 win. They're going to take on Grandview of Iowa, who knocked off the number 16, Indiana Wesleyan 1-0. That's going to be at 10 o'clock in the morning on December 1st. Georgia Gwinnett once again advancing 4-3 on PKs over Rio Grande. They're going to take on Cumberland of Tennessee. The 8th seed knocked off Carroll of Montana 3-0, and that means that Cumberland out of the Mid-South, they're going to take on Georgia Gwinnett in the 8-9. So it's the 1, Grandview of Iowa, who upset the 16, Georgia Gwinnett your 9, Cumberland, Tennessee the 8. That's at 1 o'clock, 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock on December 1st in the round of 16. Kaiser of Florida, they were upset by Warner Pacific, who played their way in by knocking off Dalton State. They're going to take on the 13-seed LSU Shreveport, who beat Faulkner out of the Southern States 3-2. So Warner Pacific and LSU Shreveport, the 13. That's going to be at 7 o'clock. Cumberlands of Kentucky over Xavier, Louisiana at the 12 matchup. They're going to take on Life University. Life beat Milligan by the score of 4-0. Here's some of the highlights from Marathon, courtesy of Life University, their own selves on the Southern States Athletic Conference and the Urban Edge Network.
Both favouring an attacking style of play. It's a great ball over the top into the channel. Gets across goal. It's 1-0 to the Life University Running Eagles.
It's a Life University goal.
Enrico
4 minutes in.
Budigotto with the finish. Great flick over the head. Lazari with the ball into the box. Strike. It's a goal for Life University.
Another goal for Life University. This time it was Carrillo to Kaito.
To the front post. Flicked in. Lazari turns the ball, pounces on the loose scraps and directs the ball goalwards.
Great finish by Lazari there.
Samos can step inside here, finds the Paolo out wide. Chooses to go alone. Ball to the back post. The base of the head.
It's an own goal from Lazari.
Attempts to head home to his goalkeeper again, as they've been doing.
Couldn't do anything really about that one.
So that's the left-hand side of the bracket. After the round of 16, quarterfinals are December the 4th. Down at the champions site. Right-hand side of the bracket, Oklahoma Wesleyan advance. They're going to take on William Penn on December 2nd. John Brown with an upset over number 10 William Carey in PKs 4-3. They're going to take on the 7-seed Mid-American Nazarene, who knocked off Concordia of Nebraska 3-0. Bethel of Indiana, the 3-seed, over Olivet Nazarene. They're going to take on Indiana Tech, who upset number 14 Baker of Kansas 1-0. WVU Tech, the 11 seed, in overtime beat Madonna of Michigan 4-3. They're going to take on Ottawa, Kansas, who beat the number 6 seed Lindsey Wilson by the score of 1-0, and those are December 2nd. So the left-hand side of the bracket, the Bethel, Grandview, Georgia Gwinnett, Cumberland of Tennessee, Warner Pacific, LSU Shreveport, Cumberland's Kentucky Life University. That's going to be on your left-hand side of the bracket. That's all December 1st. Right-hand side of the bracket for the men's side, the NAIA on December the 2nd. Oklahoma Wesleyan, William Penn, John Brown, Mid-American Nazarene, Bethel and Indiana Tech, and West Virginia WVU Tech and Ottawa, Kansas. So that is how it looks on the men's side in the NAIA. On the women's side in the NAIA, as they head toward the Ashton-Brosnaham Soccer Complex in Pensacola after your first and second rounds. Looking at those particular results and the bracket now as it is in full. It is Marion of Indiana and Aquinas. Marion gets the win. They advance. Taylor of Indiana, the 16 seed over Central Methodist of Missouri. Science and Arts out of Oklahoma, upset by Mid-American Nazarene. They take on the 8 seed Oklahoma Wesleyan. College of Idaho gets the win over the Masters of California. Cumberland's Kentucky over Columbia, Missouri. Life University on the women's side gets the win over Tennessee Wesleyan, and they advance as the 12 to take on John Brown of Arkansas, who beat Hastings of Nebraska. So it is all chalk short of one matchup in the left-hand side of the bracket. All those games December 1st. Marion and Taylor, the 1-16. Mid-American Nazarene upsets the 9 Science and Arts. They take on Oklahoma Wesleyan. College of Idaho, Cumberland's in Kentucky in the 4-13. Life and John Brown in the 5-12. On December the 2nd, William Carey out of the southern states. They knocked off Xavier of Louisiana to advance. They'll take on ERAU, I guess, but it's Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, Arizona. So ERAU, Arizona, Embry-Riddle as the 15. They advance. Truett McConnell as the 10, knocked off Cumberland, Tennessee in a wild affair in Cleveland, Georgia. Here's your highlights there, courtesy of, once again, Truett McConnell, the AAC, and the NAIA.
They'll move it all the way back to Cole, who has some room here on the near side. Collins asking for it at the top of the 18. It's in her direction. Attempted an initial touch, ineffective. Eventually finding Wallamo. A strike, a score! The Phoenix finally put one in the books, and they do so in the 56th minute. And Garcia and the Phoenix will get a free kick 40 yards out. Danica Whitman, a great keeper on these set pieces. She's going to need another stand-in here. It's to her back post. Stoll with the header, and Stoll with the score! And the Phoenix are back within one. Hodson, send this away. Every gray jersey on the near side. It's towards the 6. Trauschke was there. Instead, it just finds the net. Isabella Hodson put a cloak of invisibility on that ball. And off 2 bounces, it counts as the 4th goal of the night for Truett McConnell.
As the 10, they'll take on Grace of Indiana, the 7 seed, who beat Southern Oregon. Indiana Wesleyan over the 14, and will take on the 14 seed Kaiser, and Lindsey Wilson, who upset Southeastern of Florida out of the Sun Conference. They advance. They will take on Missouri Valley, just the school, not the conference, the 6 seed. So on the right-hand side, all December the 2nd, in the round of 16, William Carey, Embry-Riddle, Arizona, the 2-15. Truett McConnell, Grace, Indiana, the 10-7. Indiana Wesleyan, Kaiser, Florida, the 3-14. And Lindsey Wilson, the lone upset on the right-hand side over the 11 seed Southeastern. They're going to take on the 6 seed Missouri Valley. So that is the NAIA breakdown of everything, and we will keep an eye on that. We'll try to catch up with as many of the schools as we can as they get ready for December 1st and 2nd, and we will find out what it's like for these teams to be chasing after championships on championship sites. And so we go from there, we go to the NCAA tournament, and what we'll do there is we'll work our way through Division II and Division III on the men's and the women's sides, just to kind of give you an idea as to where things stand. So on the men's side in Division II, we'll look at the bracket and let you know what happened there. It was second-round action, getting ready for activity a week from Sunday to get you into the next stage. So a week from Sunday in Division II on the men's side, Southern New Hampshire, Charleston of West Virginia, and those are of wins over Bridgeport and Adelphi, respectively. Franklin Pierce over the 7 seed Wilmington of Delaware. They're going to take on Gannon, who upset the number 3 seed Bentley in the upper left. Also, low left. Fort Hayes, your top seed, low left over the 9 seed U Indy. They're going to take on Rockhurst, the 4, who won over Maryville of Missouri in PKs. Rogers State beat the number 7 seed Cedarville. They're going to take on the 3 seed Lincoln of Missouri, who beat Tiffin in PKs. That's the left-hand side of your bracket, Division II men. For the right-hand side of the bracket, in the upper right-hand corner, Flagler advances as the 8, upsetting Palm Beach Atlantic 2-0. They're going to take on Rollins, the 5 seed, who beat West Florida 2-1. So your first real upset bracket is the upper right in Division II on the men's side, the 8 Flagler and the 5 Rollins. Then it's going to be Lynn, who beat Anderson of South Carolina 2-0, and Mississippi College, the 6, who upset Florida Tech 2-0 in a matchup of teams that have ties to the Gulf South. So Lynn and Mississippi College, your 2-6. So the upper right was not anything that resembled chalk, even though you did have some upsets on the left-hand side, upper right. That quadrant really was turned upside down. Stanislaus State, Midwestern State, your 1-4, and it is going to be UCCS, the 10 seed, who knocked off Cal State Dominguez Hills 3-1. They're going to take on Point Loma, who won in penalties. It was 2-2 after 90 and after the added periods, and so in penalties, Point Loma wins. So UCCS, your 10 seed, is going to take on the 3 seed Point Loma, and that is your Division II on the men's side of things. Let's go to the men's side in Division III and let you know what happened there for Emory, as we've been tracking the Emory Eagles. Very, very busy and successful time there. Tufts over Messiah, upper left 4-1, and they beat Bowdoin 2-1 to get out of that bracket. Connecticut College and Bowdoin went to PKs, scoreless. Bowdoin won in PKs, and so Tufts beat Bowdoin, and they will advance into the final of the national semifinals, and they'll take on St. Olaf. St. Olaf knocked off Williams 2-1, then they beat Wheaton 2-0. Wheaton had gotten there by beating McAllister, the Scots 1-0. And then we go to the low right, which is where we've been tracking Emory. Emory knocked off Hampton-Sydney 3-0, shut out Rowan 2-0, and they advance. They're going to take on Dickinson. So they took on Dickinson, and they beat Dickinson in PKs. Here's how that ended, courtesy of NCAA Sports and Emory University.
Freiberger. No! Sent it high! And now Emory with a chance to punch their ticket to the Final Four.
Unbelievable. This is where, as a goalkeeper, you can't switch up the strategy. You think about your back being against the wall.
It'll be Ignacio Cubeto, the team's leading goal scorer this season. The approach, the strike, the score! Emory survives and advances. The Eagles go into the Final Four.
Think about the emotions of a game like this. The highest of the highs for one side, the lowest of the lows for the other. Emory soaring forward after a season where they've been tested left and right.
So Emory, after beating Dickinson after a goalless 110 minutes, beat Dickinson in PKs, and they advance. They're going to take on Trinity of Texas on December the 5th. Trinity of Texas had beaten Wash U out of the UAA to get to the matchup against Augsburg. Shut out Augsburg 5-0. Augsburg had beaten Cortland in PKs to get to that game, the region final. And so your national semifinals, Division II Division III on the men's side. Tufts and St. Olaf. That's going to be at 3 o'clock on December 5th, followed by Trinity, Texas, and Emory on December the 5th. Those winners will take the chase after the national championship, and that will be on December the 7th. And so, once again, semifinals, Division III on the men's side, Tufts and St. Olaf, the early one on December 5th, Trinity, Texas, and Emory, and we'll try and catch up with Coach Greiner and the Eagles before they head out to the national semis. Trinity, Texas, and Emory, December the 5th. That one is at 6:30. So now we go to the women's side, women's soccer in the NCAA tournament, checking things starting off in Division II, and we've been tracking folks in Division II here in the SDH footprint. Upper left, Shepherd and Westchester, the 1 and the 2. They're going to be playing next Sunday afternoon to get to the bracket final. and they're going to take on the winner of Jefferson and Franklin Pierce. That's going to be noontime on Sunday the 30th. So we're down to the Sweet 16 in Division II on the women's side. On the low left, it's going to be Washburn and St. Cloud, your 3-4. Washburn upset Minnesota State in PKs after 110 minutes. It was 1-1 after 110. Washburn got the Duke in PKs. They're going to take on St. Cloud, who beat Central Missouri 2-1. And then the winner of that one takes on the winner of Maryville, Missouri, and Missouri-St. Louis, your 4 and your 7. Maryville advances by winning in the 4-5, and then Cedarville, who had won and knocked out number 1 seed Grand Valley State, they lose in PKs in that one. So Maryville advances. Missouri-St. Louis shut out Ashland, the 3 seed. So the 4 and the 7 make it a little less chalky in the low left part of the bracket. Low right, Azusa Pacific and Cal Poly Pomona are going to play, as well as DBU, Dallas Baptist, and UCCS, who's having a great run both on the men's and women's sides in Division II. The 1, the 3, the 4, and the 2, low right, so chalk on the 30th at 4 o'clock Eastern and 6 o'clock Eastern time. And then in the upper right-hand corner, Lenore-Rhine with the upset of UNG. UNG, the University of North Georgia, was the 2 seed in that bracket. UNG had gotten to the game against Lenore-Rhine by beating Anderson 3-1. Let's go back and take a peek at how they got into the matchup with Lenore-Rhine.
North Georgia trying to control it here. Almost lost it. They give it back to Blanca. Nina outside the 18, defended nicely to Grace on the ground. Ricochet, second chance. North Georgia has got the lead. Saved one, not another. Nighthawk strike. Clark trying to back down here. Alex Clark, a little bit of space, turns, goes to the ground. Couldn't get a good shot off. This one's going to roll. That's going to go in. North Georgia extends their lead 2-0. Here's Nina Garcia. Angie here. On the ground to Cottle. Cottle across the face. North Georgia strikes the 3rd time.
Courtesy of UNG, their own selves, they advanced out of the first round but lose to the 6th seed. So Lenore-Rhine has been taking some Peach Belt teams and knocking them out of the tournament. Lenore-Rhine 1-0 over Columbus State, the 3 seed. 1-0 over UNG, the 2 seed. They're going to take on Lander, see if they can knock off another Peach Belt team. Lander and Lenore-Rhine next Sunday, 3 o'clock Eastern time in the upper right-hand corner of your brackets. Florida Tech and Nova Southeastern. The other upper right semifinal in the round of 16. Florida Tech, the 4, knocked off West Florida, the number 1 seed in that upper bracket, 2-1. Nova Southeastern out of the Sun Conference shut out Montevallo, the 6, 1-0. So, once again, D2 women all on the Sunday the 30th. Upper left, Shepherd and Westchester, Jefferson and Franklin Pierce. Low left, Washburn St. Cloud, Maryville of Missouri, Missouri-St. Louis. Upper right, Florida Tech, Nova Southeastern, Lander and Lenore-Rhine, the 2, the 4, the 5, and the 6. And then low right, DBU, UCCS, Azusa Pacific, and Cal Poly Pomona. So Lander is the team out of the Peach Belt that advances the farthest on the girls' side of things in Division II. So let's go to Division III and look at how things are on the women's side in the NCAA. Once again, WashU and MIT. WashU won that one 1-0. They would take on Messiah, who shut out Calvin by the same score. WashU would shut out Messiah by the same score. So WashU out of the UAA advances, winning 1-0 against Messiah, and they go into the national semifinals. They take on another UAA team in the University of Chicago. The Maroons had beaten Wisconsin Lacrosse, had beaten Cal Lutheran, and then they beat Carleton 2-1 in regulation after Carleton had to go to PKs to beat Swarthmore. So Chicago advances, and that is it for that left-hand side. National semifinal, December 4th, 3 o'clock Eastern Time, WashU and the University of Chicago. Now, right-hand side of the bracket to determine the other semifinal. It was Tufts over Middlebury 2-0 to get to the matchup against Mary Washington. Mary Washington had beaten Penn State Harrisburg 2-1. Tufts beats Mary Washington 1-0 in overtime. They advanced to the national semifinal to take on the Emory Eagles. Sue Patberg and her bunch had knocked off Johns Hopkins 3-1. Then they got to take on Pomona Pitzer. So Emory beats Pomona Pitzer, who had knocked off Washington and Lee in PKs to get to that regional final. So once again, your national semifinals in Division III on the women's side, WashU and Chicago at 3 o'clock. Tufts and Emory, that one is at 6:30 So that will set everything up for the national semifinals in Division 3. We'll go over Division 1 in the morning show on SDHAM. Gabe Shrine, Matty Cruz called the Furman bracket, and it was Furman and Western Michigan that were going at it. We'll go over those highlights and talk the NCAA bracket with them and with Casey White when she will come in on Tuesday morning, and we'll discuss everything in the college brackets with her as well, especially on the women's side and how the ACC and the SEC in Division 1 are progressing as they get closer and closer to chasing after national championships. Thanks to all the schools, all the conferences, and the NCAA for helping us out with the highlights and the post, and the NAIA as well, to get you through the brackets, to get you into the next weekend as folks are chasing tournaments in a bunch of divisions and 2 separate organizations. That's another round of the Red Clay Soccer Report presented by and powered by our friends at NoFo Brewing. Thanks for dropping by, being a part of it as you always are. John Nelson here from the SDH Network. Play safe, everybody. Enjoy the games. We'll catch up with you next week.